Hello again, everyone. Today we are taking a stroll to Lummi Rocks. At the time this was filmed, the governor's stay-at-home, stay-healthy order prohibited me from taking you to the sites we would normally visit. So, instead, I am taking you a little deeper into my backyard. Lummi Rocks is owned by the U.S. Bureau of Land Management. It's located in Rosario Strait, just west of Lummi Island, and is technically part of Whatcom County. You can only access it by boat. This site consists of a small island and rocks, making up about 8 acres. The island itself is made of 3 large, steep, domed rocks merged by a thin, rocky beach and berm. The stark uplands host a diverse variety of grasses, native wildflowers, shrubs, and small trees. Lummi Rocks is a small, secluded picnicking spot for mammals both biped and pinniped, and you are equally likely to see kayakers and harbor seals pulled out on the beach. In fact, this rock is a favorite haul-out site for harbor seals. The only human structures on Lummi Rocks are a few signs and the navigational light on the southwest corner of the island. If you carefully summit the uplands, being careful not to step on any of the sensitive native vegetation or fall off any of the cliffs, you can look out over the water and you may even see a whale. As before, you will split into groups, and each group will lay out a transect. A rocky shore such as this poses unique challenges when surveying with quadrats. On the mudflats, you could easily lay your quadrat out on the mud anywhere that you wanted to sample. Here, your sample sites may fall on rugged terrain, such as the side of a boulder or a sheer rock wall. When that happens, hold your quadrat over the site as if it was perfectly flat. Note the spot under each corner of the quadrat. Draw imaginary lines delineating the spot you are surveying and survey inside that area. While you may not be surveying 1 square meter of 3-dimensional rock face, you are surveying 1 square meter of 2-dimensional horizontal space. Our class typically samples along transects perpendicular to the shoreline. However, some marine biologists sample in bands parallel to the shoreline in order to capture more data at each elevation. Another difference that you may see among marine biologists is use of a smaller quadrat, a half or a quarter of a meter being common for pure scientific research, and 2 square feet still being common for resource management surveys conducted by U.S. government agencies. As before, within your quadrat, count the number of individuals by species and collect samples for biomass estimates at the lab. You may need a knife or other prying tool to remove some organisms from the rocks for biomass estimates. When measuring plants, record both the number of individuals and the approximate area covered. Make sure you check on and under plants and rocks. This is a complex environment, and there are a lot of habitat niches to check. When you get to the end of your transect, do a plankton tow. A group should also collect a water sample and measure salinity, pH, dissolved oxygen, and temperature. At the mudflats, we were sampling near the outflow of a river, whereas this site is more heavily influenced by salt water flowing through Rosario Strait. As a result, you could expect to see slightly higher salinity here compared to the previous site. Organisms living on the mudflats needed to be either highly mobile or tolerant of a variety of abiotic conditions. For example, as the tide goes out on the mudflats, eelgrass continues to photosynthesize, converting carbon dioxide to oxygen and raising the pH. Water standing on the mudflats is also warmed quite hot by the sun in the summer and may have ice standing on it in the winter. Likewise, tide pools at the rocky shore are subject to extremes. On a sunny day, water will evaporate and the salinity can increase significantly. As with the mudflats, water in a tide pool can be very warm in the summer and icy in the winter. Tide pools also trap mobile organisms into small spots that are easy for predators to reach. If a tide pool falls inside one of your quadrats, keep an eye out for movement. Sculpins, young flounders, gunnels, and other small fish can often be found in tide pools. They're well camouflaged, so you may have a hard time seeing them if they're not moving. While you're sampling tide pools and large boulders, keep an eye out for patches of the beautiful clonal aggregating anemone, Anthropleura elegantissima. The tips of their tentacles are a delicate pink color, but most of their body is green due to photosynthetic zoochlorelli living symbiotically in their gastrodermal layer. While you're sampling the rocky shore, keep a close eye on your elevation on the beach. Different organisms are more or less tolerant of different elevations, and you will notice that as you survey. A common mid and upper intertidal species is the barnacle. The most common barnacle species in our area is Balanus glandula, the acorn barnacle. Barnacles are actually sessile crustaceans, not mollusks. As larvae, they will cement themselves to rocks using glands at the base of their first pair of antennae. They have very different anatomical layouts than other crustaceans. Their head and thorax show no obvious segmentation, and they have almost no abdomen. Their thoracic legs are modified into cirri, which they use both as gills and to pull food out of the water. Spring young-of-the-year barnacles can settle out in vast numbers, reaching densities of up to 70,000 per square meter. Being close together is important for barnacle reproduction. When a male is ready to mate, it extends its penis outside of its shell and probes its neighbors until it encounters a female. The organ is then extended into the female's shell and fertilization takes place. With this reproductive strategy, it's no wonder that barnacles have evolved the largest penis for its body size of any animal. The 6 fused plates with valves that it can seal against predators make barnacles tough prey. They also help barnacles resist desiccation during low tide. Barnacles can extract oxygen from both water and air. However, barnacles are still eaten by predators such as snails that can drill through their shells, as well as purple sea stars, which can pull their plates apart and evert their stomachs through the opening. When we went to the mudflats, you saw plenty of eelgrass, which is a true plant with rhizomes, flowers, and seeds. Here on the rocky shore, you are going to see more macrophytic algae. Macrophytic, in this case, means that they look more like aquatic plants rather than phytoplankton, but they are not actually true plants. These seaweeds are split into 3 major groups: red, green, and brown. Instead of roots or rhizomes, macrophytic algae attach themselves to the rocks with a holdfast. The stem coming off of the holdfast is called a stipe, and the leafy part is called a blade. Some macrophytic algae also has air bladders, such as fucus. Fucus distichus, also known as rockweed, is a common intertidal brown alga. Their species name, distichus, refers to the algae's opposite branching pattern. They have a prominent midrib, small holdfast, and short stipe. Phenols protect fucus from many grazers by binding to and inactivating their digestive enzymes. However, they are edible to humans, and the goo inside their air bladders is said to be beneficial to skin. This messy brown algae growing all over the low intertidal is an invasive species of sargasso from Japan. It is known as wireweed, or Sargassum muticum. It's another import from the Pacific oyster industry. In our area, it grows about 2 meters long, from the intertidal zone down to about 2 meters deep, though in California it has been reported to grow up to 10 meters long. The base of the plant has a few flat, blade-like leaves, above which the plant branches extensively, giving it a very bushy appearance. Most of the branches have small spherical float bladders called pneumatocysts, small leaves, or club-shaped reproductive bodies. Probably the most iconic brown algae in the Pacific Northwest is the bull kelp, Nereocystis lutkeana, an annual which lives just below the intertidal zone. Bull kelp has a prominent branching holdfast, up to 16 inches or 41 centimeters across, with a long tubular stipe up to 80 feet or 24 meters long. This is topped with a bulbous pneumatocyst, which is in turn tipped with 4 groups of broad, flat blades up to 10 feet or 3 meters long. Tissue at the tips of the blades is older than tissue near the pneumatocyst, and bits are continually broken off by grazing and physical disturbance to form detritus that feeds many ecosystem members, such as the pinto abalone. Like the pinto abalone, bull kelp forests have been disappearing and declining in Washington and throughout its range. 2 other species of kelp commonly eaten by humans can be found in abundance at this site, especially in the lower intertidal and subtidal area: sugar kelp, Laminaria saccharina, and winged or ribbon kelp, Alaria marginata. Both species grow intermixed at this site, and both have a single long tapered blade extending to a pointy tip. Ribbon kelp is somewhat more numerous here and has a strong prominent midrib. It also has small reproductive blades at the base near the holdfast. Sugar kelp has 2 rows of concavities running along the length of its blade, giving the plant a wrinkled look. It does not have a midrib. Both species are commonly used in soups, stews, stir-fries, and as a wrap for other foods. If you choose to harvest and eat kelp from the wild, be careful where you harvest, as kelp can accumulate heavy metals if present in the water. As you probably know from case study 3, kelp reproduce using a strategy called alternation of generations. The large kelp that you see with your naked eye are diploid sporophytes. A kelp reproductive organ called a sorus produces haploid zoospores, which are released into the water and dispersed. Zoospores germinate to male and female haploid gametophytes. Male gametophytes produce sperm from their antheridia, and female gametophytes produce oogonia. Syngamy occurs, and a diploid sporophyte zygote is formed. The zygote develops into a juvenile sporophyte, which anchors itself onto a hard substrate using its holdfast and grows into the adult kelp that we all recognize. This rocky shore is also rich with echinoderms. Sea star wasting disease caused many species of sea stars to go into rapid decline in 2013, but some species, such as these ochre stars, Pisaster orcaeus, are beginning to reappear. This species exhibits color polymorphism, and we found 2 colors here at Lummi Rocks. The most common color was purple, though orange or ochre sea stars were also present. In the intertidal and subtidal areas of Lummi Rocks, you can also find the blood star, Henrica leviuscula. I'm afraid my underwater camera was forcibly re-aimed by a patch of wireweed, and as a result, I have much less footage of this beautiful species than I would like. Holothuroidea is a more delicious class of echinoderm. While there are some exceptions worthy of Dr. Seuss, let's focus on the tasty varieties of sea cucumbers. Most have a soft, cylindrical body with a mouth surrounded by tentacles at one end and an anus at the other. Their internal skeleton is composed of microscopic calcium carbonate ossicles embedded beneath their skin. A special type of collagen called catch collagen allows sea cucumbers to adjust their body rigidity at will, making it possible for the animal to escape from predators through tight gaps or by hiding in small crevices. Gently touching a sea cucumber in the intertidal zone can cause it to contract, hiding in a crevice until it thinks the threat has passed. The sea cucumber feeds by spreading its tentacles in the water column or using them to sweep the bottom. They capture bits of detritus and sweep the food into their mouths. When threatened by predators, a sharp body contraction can tear a hole in their cloaca. This allows the sea cucumber to eject a sticky, stringy mass of respiratory organs called Cuvierian tubules from its anus to entangle predators, sometimes accompanied by a toxic soap-like chemical. Regrowth of Cuvierian tubules takes between 2 and 5 weeks, depending on the species. I know I just told you that sea cucumbers can rip a hole in their bum to spray their toxic guts at predators, but trust me, they are a delicious group of animals. They're actually commercially harvested by divers for their meat, which occurs in the form of 5 large strips of muscles running longitudinally down the length of the sea cucumber's body. Once at the surface, divers chop the ends off of the sea cucumber and remove the internal organs by shaking the body over the edge of the boat. The resultant tube can then be sold directly to the Chinese market, which prizes both the meat and skin, or cleaned for immediate consumption. The strips of muscle can be removed by opening the body tube and slicing them off with a knife, similar to removing a fish fillet from skin. The strips of meat can then be cooked. I think they are excellent when rolled in flour and fried like a butter clam. They have a somewhat chewy texture and a mild, clammy taste. During this trip to Lummi Rocks, I noticed 2 species of sea cucumber. Most prevalent in the intertidal region was the red sea cucumber, Cucumaria miniata. The exterior of its body features 5 prominent bands of tube feet, and it can grow up to 10 inches or 25 centimeters long. More prevalent in the subtidal region is the California sea cucumber, currently classified as Apostachopus californicus. Its red body is covered in fleshy spikes called papillae. One echinoderm here that is much more of an acquired taste is the sea urchin. They live from the intertidal region to 10 meters deep or much deeper, depending on the species. Green and purple sea urchins are harvested by divers. Both male and female gonads are eaten as a delicacy in Europe and Asia. The urchins here at Lummi Rocks are huge, with bodies easily 4 inches or 10 centimeters across. These species are just a tiny sample of the incredible biological diversity you can explore at a rocky shore. I'm sorry we didn't get to take you to the beach in person, but I hope we all get to explore tide pools in person soon. Stay healthy and safe, everybody. See you later.